Hey guys, this is DPE Carol coming at you from the Airstream studio in Northern California. I'm a DPE based in Alaska in the summertime and Northern California in the winter. And I've started a series of videos to educate and inform my applicants and CFIs who are recommending CFIs on issues of the day that I am seeing. As opposed to continually debriefing the same issues over and over, I decided to go ahead and pre-educate folks on trends that I'm seeing so that we can bring the game up in flight instruction these days, okay? So here we go. Latest topic of the day is simulated emergency approach and landings. So something I've seen since I've been a DPE, which is only 4 years, is there's a large portion of private pilot applicants who, when given a simulated engine failure, they do most people do select an appropriate field. But probably about 40% of them, give or take, when planning and flying the approach to this field, have no accurate glide path to that field. Meaning, specifically, they would overshoot horrifically. The sad part is that same 40% have no realization of the fact that they are vastly overshooting, and that result of overshooting is the difference between life or death in a real emergency landing scenario. What this tells me is that CFIs are not teaching this sufficiently. Okay, a lot of times you'll hear people say on this maneuver, oh, well, do your emergency action items, A, B, C, the checklist, and plan and fly your path to the selected field. Go around at 500 feet. Okay, they're saying that because the FAA has minimum altitude regulations. And so they're trying to protect themselves. We do all need to comply with those regulations, which I will cover later in this video, okay? But many instructors are obviously not correcting their students when their glide path is inaccurate. Perhaps this is because these CFIs themselves do not even know that the glide path is inaccurate and doesn't even have a hope or a prayer of bringing them to a safe landing location. So what needs to happen? Well, we have guidance on this. We have the ACS. Here I have the private pilot ACS. Emergency approach and landing simulated task. All right, remember, in each task, the DPE is going to be verifying that at least one of the knowledge elements is in place solidly, okay? At least one of the risk management elements is in place solidly, and all skills are in place solidly. Let's go over the skills. The applicant exhibits the skill to establish and maintain the recommended best glide airspeed plus minus 10 knots. Configure the airplane in accordance with a pilot operating handbook and existing conditions. Select a suitable landing area, considering altitude, wind, terrain, obstructions, and available glide distance. Plan and follow a flight path to the selected landing area, considering altitude, wind, terrain, and obstructions. Prepare for landing as specified by the evaluator and complete the appropriate checklists. Okay. Nowhere in there does it say go around by 500 feet. All right. Now, let's see. What do the FARs say in this instance to us? Okay. Let's look up part 91, 119, minimum safe altitudes general. Here it says, except when necessary for takeoff or landing, no person may operate an aircraft below the following altitudes. A, anywhere. An altitude allowing, if a power unit fails, your engine, an emergency landing without undue hazard to persons or property on the surface. Okay? And it has a rule about over congested areas. And then it has a rule over other than congested areas, which is an altitude of 500 feet above the surface, except over open water or sparsely populated areas. In those cases, the aircraft may not be operated closer than 500 feet to any person, vessel, vehicle, or structure. Now, CFIs, you need to do better. You need to try harder to get your applicants in good scenario training, all right, with this. I am not instructing you to go do anything crazy, to go buzz people, etc. You must follow the law. Read it for yourself, 91-119. However, if you only ever have your applicants go around at 500 feet, I'm sorry, you're not adequately preparing them for real life. Sorry. If you need to go do this in a pattern, do it, all right? But if you're only ever having them go around at 500 feet, they are not accurately estimating their glide path, and they overshoot the vast majority of the time. And what's sad is they have no idea what to do about it. Most of my applicants that I see, they don't even think of doing a slip to correct this issue. So clearly education is not sufficient on this. So where does the FAA give us education on how to fly planes? The Airplane Flying Handbook. Hooray. All right, and here we have in the Airplane Flying Handbook, page 9, or chapter 9-28, page 28, we have emergency approaches and landings simulated. Okay, instructors, read it. Applicants, read it. Okay, for instance, all sorts of gems of knowledge in here, such as mid-page, with the greater choice of fields afforded by higher altitudes, the inexperienced pilot may be inclined to delay making a decision on where to land. And with considerable altitude in which to maneuver, errors in maneuvering and estimation of glide distance may develop. What are they saying there? If you're too high, you cannot tell if you're an inexperienced pilot. So instructors, figure it out, do better, find a place for them to go, and actually judge the outcome of this simulated landing maneuver. Do so in accordance with the FARs. If you need to do it at an airport, do it at an airport over a runway, okay? Follow engine clearing procedures, all right? Do not do this without reading the emergency approaches and landing section of the Airplane Flying Handbook, which has all sorts of tips on how to do this properly and safely, okay? Lastly, make sure your applicants have a strong flow for their emergency. They need to have practiced it so much that they can say out loud and do in a flow pattern while flying the airplane safely at best glide and flying the approach to said field, okay? While doing their calls, while squawking, etc. If they can't do that, they're not ready for the check ride, okay? And they're definitely not ready for life, which is, of course, the more important thing. So, yes, use a checklist, but if your applicant can only pitch for best glide and that's all they can do without reaching for the checklist, that's a no-go. They're not ready for life, okay? Don't send them to me for a check ride if they're not ready for life, kids. Thanks for listening. I'm cheering for you.